What is going on, League of Leaders? If you are like me, you have found yourself at the intersection of obstacles and opportunity, and you weren't sure which one was which. And you had that moment where you could either think or you could go all in. Today, I have brought the expert. He won't call himself an expert, but I will, of all in. Now, I have worked with this guy in the past, and I just love the story. I don't even know if I can connect the dots, but he was a youth pastor who was doing some things with his dad's roofing company, and he was doing this Facebook Live thing every day. It started raining hail, and suddenly, because he'd been on Facebook Live, he had business just like coming to him in droves. And suddenly he became the social media expert guy, this video guy. People turn to him for that. They still do. He still speaks on stages, helping people to get comfortable being uncomfortable and get on camera and get out of their way. But he's written books, he's co-authored books, and he runs a company called Higher Culture, where he believes that VA, virtual assistant, is a term that is something that shouldn't be used. He calls them remote team members. But this is Kyle, the master of recreation, Coach Kyle Draper. Welcome to the League of Leaders, man. Leadership Live. Good to have you.
Lord Donnie, I am honored to be in your presence today.
Well, I did go get a new sword, Kyle, here to Matt, our station.
Come on.
That's
I gotta
it.
get a sword.
I thought we took care of that at one time, but Kyle and I became lords together years ago because all we have to own is 1 square foot of land in Scotland, and we have that.
I thought it was only an inch. I don't know if a foot might have made us. What's above a lord? You might have got the package above me.
I got the extra package.
Yeah,
Kyle, I have watched just what you do and just how you do it. And one thing I think that anyone who sees you and knows you, they realize that who you are is who you are. That you're never a guy that's pretending. Was that ever something that you struggled with, or have you just always been just who you are?
I think I probably wasn't as great at being who I am when I was younger. But I think there was a turning point for me. Probably 2020, right before COVID hit. I'm talking February before COVID hit in March and like shut the world down. I had got a speaking gig that was going to be my biggest up to that point. And the owner of the company called me after we'd already booked the call. And he said, hey, he was like, I don't mean this to like come off rude, but like, can you like say God less when you come up and talk to my people? And I thought about it for a second. And of course, that second felt like an eternity on the phone with this guy. And I hadn't arrived yet. And so I was like, gosh, I need this money. If I say no, am I going to trust that the Lord's going to provide for me? And, you know, like, do I say yes? And then do I cheapen like who I've always said that I was? And I just mustered the courage to go, man, I don't talk about God on stage on purpose. I said, it just comes out of me because that's what I'm most passionate about. And so I think the answer for you is no, I can't change who I am, because for me to try to not talk about him would probably give you a far inferior product of me on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for me, he was like, I respect that. And I think he was kind of challenging me to see, you know, what I would do. And I really think from that moment, it was kind of like, you know what? If talking about the Lord keeps me off of stages, then those are stages I shouldn't have been on anyway. And so I think now I have extreme clarity on who I am, who's God called me to be. If you like me, great. If you don't, that's really not my concern. And it's pretty liberating to be able to kind of live in that space.
I love it. There is a series on Netflix. I think it's called Coach. Um, it is in the beginning in the first episode, Doc Rivers, who was I think he was the coach of the Celtics at the time, but he said one of the things that was his goal to do was to get people in flow, and to do that he had to get them out of their mind. He says because when you're thinking, you're not just burning calories, but you're putting a layer between you and the most pure version of you, and to
Yeah.
be able to say like, hey. It is what it is. Like I like the filters actually are going to probably give you a much like the product you wouldn't want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Like the passion that people praise me for, that doesn't exist. If I've got to put a silencer on certain parts of my passion, you would just get a totally different experience, I think, if I had to, live inside of those walls.
I love it. We talk about. It seems like we talk about it, and maybe it's because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. But we often do find. I find that a lot of our conversations get to a place of calling. And you said you know what God's calling is for you, and you have a complete piece about that. What is that for you? And then like how can any of us out here like grab hold of something like that?
How can a regular person do that?
Just a
Because
regular
I am
person.
not. I'm
You,
definitely not a regular person. Man. So Donnie, I think first, I think we get our calling confused. I see, and I've been guilty of this. When I was a pastor, I felt like my calling was to be a pastor. And so 10 years in, when the Lord flips the switch and goes, guess what, brother? You're going to now go to the mission field and I'm going to put you in the business world. I struggled with like, whoa, because I could walk into a room and when somebody's like, what do you do for a living? I could puff my chest out and go, I'm a pastor. And then it was, oh, now you're a roofer. And that's not cool. And nobody's excited to meet you. And I always got fascinating questions for people. Oh, wow, you're a pastor. You don't look like a pastor. What? And it was always so fun. And so I had this really hard time trying to figure out, like, I thought that was my calling. And so what I really believe now is that for most of us, our jobs, our businesses are the vehicles by which our calling is accomplished, but they are not the calling. Because since God pulled me out of the church as a pastor, I think I've been a part of like 6 different like startups, doing all different things. And yet my calling was the same for all of those, which is I feel like God's called me to leave people better than I find them. And that calling is not defined by a job title. It's not defined by industry. It's not defined by people group. It is simply a way that I know to wake up and live my life every day. And I think so many people would be healed of a lot of issues in their lives if they would realize that job you want, that is not the calling. That may be a stepping stone in your calling being lived out. But like you're great now. And there's my favorite Gary V video. It's so short. It's literally like a 10-second clip. And he's walking to his car in the parking lot and this woman yells his name and he turns around and she goes, Gary, I want you to know one day I'm going to be somebody. And he grabs her by the shoulders. I got goosebumps. And he says, you're already somebody right now.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't even know that Gary loves the Lord. And so I love watching profound things that I believe are breathed in scripture from people that don't necessarily know the scripture, but like, that's all of us, right? Like we're already a somebody, whether the world has given us the title or the trophy. And so, man, that's what it's been about for me.
I love that that definition. A couple of years ago, you're bringing this up, so I'm just going to share with you because I'm talking to you. A couple of years ago, I had gotten rid of a couple parts of my business, just wasn't excited about. I thought I could easily replace them, and I couldn't for a little while. And in order to keep things flowing in, we lived in a high dense. We get a lot of tourists here, so what do I have? I have a car. I became an Uber driver for 6, 7 months, something like that, and it's so funny to watch the ego of a guy who thinks he's important. I never thought I was a pastor, but here I am, like, I'm a coach, I'm a business coach, like whatever you want to like. I definitely
Yeah.
there was some ego there. And in the beginning, I'm like, you could see it in my face. Probably once people started asking me, what's your other job? And I told them, and they said, yeah, remind me not to ask you for advice, or they're trying to get stock tips from the business coach that's driving Uber. But a, about probably month 4 or 5, what I don't really know where it was. I used to pull over and look up at this. We have this gigantic cross where a light shines up on it. You could see it over the river here in St. Augustine. It's from the oldest mission in America. And I'm just like kind of like having a real not happy conversation with God. But I got back in my car after me just kind of like spewing everything. And what I felt in my heart, I heard was like, because I was like, God, this isn't my calling. This isn't what I'm supposed to do. I'm this and I'm that. And I'm like, and I get back in my car, close the door, get another person asking for a ride at midnight, and just felt like in my heart say, the best thing that you can do is to get someone from where they're at to where they're going. And you are a coach and you're an encourager. And guess what? You can be that while you drive. Your calling is something you can take with you
That's right.
through any wall. And
So good.
boy, it made me like all of a sudden, like it's like my whole life changed. And actually it was almost immediately that trial lifted and all my other parts of my business was restored. It's like craziest thing, but I definitely had to
Man, I love
rouse me
that.
to go. Kyle, you have how many books behind you? You are an author, you're a co-author. Talk to me about the Rethink Everything movement and
Yeah.
what you learned from that.
We are at 16 books and going strong. We've got, I don't know, 10 to 12 books in different variations and, as projects that'll be out probably before the year is over. And it's been a journey of just really saying yes. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any plans to know what I'm doing. 3.5 years ago, God said, write a book, and I wrote a book, and then I thought I was done. God has an interesting way of revealing things to us. And after I wrote my book, all the feedback I kept getting wasn't about how great my book was. It was about how great the title was. And so it was Rethink Everything, Rethink Everything. Man, I love that phrase, Rethink Everything. That's so cool. The cover's so cool. It's so different. And so, I've never claimed to be the smartest person in any room that I've ever been in. And so all I ever know to do is pray. And I just remember praying, going, Lord, what? Am I missing something? I thought you just wanted me to write a book. And now I'm getting all this feedback, and it feels like it's supposed to be more. And so God just told me that you're going to be the book series that goes up against Book for Dummies. And instead of, calling people a dummy, hey, dummy, come read my book.
I thought that.
The thought was, could we not do something similar, but do it through collaboration, do it through encouragement, do it through, helping people see a better future. And so we set out to write what I would call the first book in the series, because my book wasn't intended to be that. And we wrote the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the 10th. And people have just loved being a part of this movement. And it's been really cool. And I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I know that God has released me from it here recently. And I don't know if that's a permanent release. I don't know if it's a temporary release. But it's pretty wild when, you birth, well, you have kids, I have kids. Like when you've birthed kids, like they're your kids. You couldn't imagine ever parting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And business is the same way. And so, for 2 years, I've been doing higher culture and Rethink Everything is my like two babies. And my mentor for a long time has been like, if you had to pick one, which one? I was like, Joe, I can't. I don't ask me that. I won't pick one. Right? Like I won't. And 3 months ago, man, God can change your heart so quick. And literally like on the dot, I woke up and was like, I'm not supposed to be doing Rethink Everything anymore. I need to go all in with Higher Culture. And so I don't know what the future holds for Rethink Everything. I think God's brought us too far to only bring us this far. And so I know great things are in store for it, but I may have nothing to do with it. And we'll see how it shakes out. But it's been a fun journey.
Okay. I actually have a question about the series, but before that, though, you mentioned something that I think that a lot of people struggle with, and there's this, but I don't maybe remove some of whether it's complexity or misunderstandings that people might have. How do you like this? Isn't we don't have to make this on any stone tablets, but how do you come to a conclusion of like that? Like you mentioned the snap where all of a sudden
Yeah.
you realized it was time for this and not for that.
For me, God's never showed up in a burning bush. And so it's always been through a series of events. And so it always, for me, it started with just humility and prayer. God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like if you don't step in and do something, I'm probably going to screw all of it up. And so that's where it started, was there was this tug at, should I spend more time over here? Should I spend more time over here? What needs to happen? Then we had brought together a board for Higher Culture, and our two board members looked at me back in March and they said, we're not asking you to give up Rethink Everything, but what if you just stopped posting about it until y'all hit X number of dollars in monthly revenue for Higher Culture?
Interesting.
And the way they phrased it, it allowed me to go, okay, you're not asking me to go kill something to help something else live. I think I can do a temporary release. And so since March, I have not posted anything on the internet about Rethink Everything. I had a new book come out a month ago, my book, that I haven't even posted about, because I made the commitment that I was not going to post about anything related to Rethink Everything. And that has been so freaking hard. But Donnie, what's happened is, because I quit posting about it, it allowed my heart to really lean in one of the directions. And I woke up and was like, I'm ready. I'm ready
Wow.
to pull back from Rethink Everything, reposition leadership. You know, I don't want it to die, but it can't live if only I can be the one to feed it. And so it was a series of events that started with humility through prayer. And then, right, and we all know this isn't rocket science, but it's who have you positioned around you that you're allowing to speak into your life? And thank God that I have two unbelievable men of God that serve my business partner and I on our board. And so I just knew that when they were in agreement on it, that needed to be my answer that I've been praying for. And it could have been so easy to be like, yeah, but y'all don't understand. Y'all weren't there in the beginning. And so I think a lot of times, like, we pray for stuff, but we're not really willing to surrender.
Okay.
And so God's trying to speak into our lives and give us what we're asking for. But before we can do this, we've got to actually release. And so I think so many people are praying for it, but as long as their fists are clenched around what they're holding on to, what blessing do you have the opportunity to grasp hold of? If you're already so tightly grasped onto something else. And so that was it for me.
So, all right, take me in, because you've actually had some really cool results from this. But the is Philippians 3. It says, it was one of my favorites, right? One thing I do, I forget what's behind me, and I push hard. I press on towards the goal to win the prize which God has called me heavenward towards in Christ. It's like that there's a forgetting of something old and a moving to something new. And I'm hearing you just being someone that habitually holds things loosely, even though I could tell you have like these, like
Dude,
you said, the two babies.
look, let me tell you, I I think I take that verse maybe too literally than the Lord even meant it. Because the running joke in my life with my wife and I is like when we quit being pastors, there were men and women, families, students that we had done life with for 8 years. I never spoke to again.
Wow.
And it had nothing to do with like, I didn't like them. I didn't,
Hmm.
but like the moment God gives me clarity for what's in front of me, I'm all in with what's in front of me. And so in the same thing, we then left church ministry. We moved to Oklahoma. My whole life was consumed with Oklahoma. We made
Mm.
incredible friends for 4 years in Oklahoma. I was an elder at our church. God called us back to Texas. Hadn't talked to most of those people since we've been back. And it has nothing to do with not caring about them anymore. But I just, man, like God just puts blinders on me, and whatever he's put in front of me, like it's hard right this second to even finish this transition with Rethink Everything, because in my mind it's over. You know, like God's released me, and so it's like, let's go all in, higher culture. And I'm like, whoa, 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 Kyle, we gotta tie up a few loose ends over here. So don't forget.
You're
But you know, I have never struggled to keep looking back. And I don't know how I could even coach someone to do it like I've done it. I just think it's something God put in me to just allow me to be wildly focused on what's ahead of me. And it's served me well when I've actually listened and did what he said.
I love it. By the way, it just now occurred to me as I'm looking at the RTM hat. If you were to turn the M sideways, it could be a Rethink Everything. It's almost like there's a
Yeah,
remix
dude.
of that.
I put up a post the other day asking people to guess what it meant, and somebody said, "Does it mean rethink movement?" And I was like, I didn't even think of that. So
That's-
so maybe the Lord knows what he's doing. He's allowing me to have this hat for higher culture, but in a few years it might, go back to being the Rethink Movement hat.
I,
I don't know.
I love the openness. Like it's like you're open. It could be this way, it could be that way. You're not fixated, addicted, and I think, Kyle, the reason I'm asking these questions is different people have different appetites for risk for sure. But also a lot of people I think struggle with like, how do I remix this talent and go to a place? Like I've been so good here. This has been good, right? Can't we just stay here and build a mountain and be like make something here? But the, I guess it's almost like they say like the river is it's never the same river, right? It's always
Yeah.
something new, and we're all something new too. It's just a neat thing to behold, and I think that for someone who's struggling with that, I think they just need to tune into your socials and see what it looks like for an object in motion. So
It's amazing what happens when we stop making life about us. Right? Like when my prayer is, God, use me, I think most people would, if they're praying about it, would pray like, inside of where I already love to be,
right,
please use me.
yeah,
And that's not a surrendered prayer. God, I want to be used by you as long as you don't take this, as long as
it's
it looks
way.
this way.
Yeah,
And I just think that's how most people see things. And man, like until surrender is there, I don't know that God can really do anything significant if you're not willing to lay it all down and go whatever direction he tells you. And it's funny we're talking about this because right now my shirt, right, it's Jonah and it says, "Get in, loser.
loser.
It's time to do the Lord's will." Right? Like Jonah got a front row seat to what not surrendering can result in.
Oof.
And I don't want God to have to look at me and go, "Get in, loser. I've been trying to give you all these signs, but you refuse to listen."
Oh my gosh.
being a good listener is a pretty solid thing to have in the Lord's economy, I think.
Can you tell us and give us a clue of what has happened in higher culture since you've thrown your heart over the bar? You've said, I'm pressing hard towards the goal. It's been pretty crazy. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, man. So one, just the numbers speak for themselves, but I'll share that last. I'll share what I think hopefully will hit home for some listeners first. My MO in business for 13 years has always been take something as far as I can naturally take it. And then when it starts to get hard, I come up with a new idea. And then I go take that as far as I can in my natural giftings. And then when that gets hard, then I'll come up with a reason to go do something else. And that's what I did in the roofing company. That's what I did in my website company. That's what I did in my coaching company. And so this year, as I've gotten clarity, I really felt the Lord telling me, like, Kyle, it's time for you to actually be a CEO. You've called yourself one for a decade, because that's technically been your title in different companies, but you've never done the work of a CEO. Because you quit before you get to that work. And so now, I mean, my business partner, Justin, who God divinely appointed to be my partner in this season, there's been at least 3 times that he and I have been in our office or at lunch, and I've just said, bro, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like every month that we hit a new sales number, right? Like that becomes the new biggest company I've ever been a part of. And so every day, right? Like every new client, it's like, whoa, new territory, never been here before, don't have a clue what I'm doing. And he's always been so gracious to encourage me. But the reality has been that this is the first time in my life that I've surrendered to something that I haven't quit when it got hard. And so it's required a new level of faith. It's required a new level of trust. It's required bringing the right people around me. And man, like right this second, we're 5X ahead of where we were last year.
All in, created 5X. That's crazy.
I think last year in the whole year, we did maybe $250,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, we're on pace to be at $150K a month in sales by December. And I just can't help but think, is it a coincidence that I go all in and actually sell out to something and then it works? I think it's the lesson that the Lord's been telling me for a decade, that I think any of my other companies could have probably had this success. Had I at any moment during those seasons stopped and said, bro, quit being a freaking wimp. Lean in. Go do the hard work. And man, it's been so much fun. And we're just getting started.
There's something unique about this too. I mean, all these other things you've been encouraging and connecting and I think living in the calling to leave people better than you found them. But in this scenario, I think that you're actually serving a group of people. You're not just serving business owners, CEOs, and all the type of people that you're serving who need what we used to call VAs. Talk to us about the shift from VA to RTM, how that's important, why that's important. And by the way, some of us are going to see the same thing and say, that's absolutely important. So what is this? Because this is a now thing.
Yeah. So I hired my first VA at the time 6 years ago in my marketing company. And that was my first experience to that world. I didn't know what to expect. Again, all we knew was they're an assistant that's going to help you do things that you're not good at. And that's where we started. And then we hired more and more and more. And then, my business partner probably says it best. he was like, Kyle, I love to see people. Like, I love people. You love the person.
Mm.
And so because of that, right, I didn't understand that, like, in the VA world, you could just mow through them because they were in a different country. You didn't have to feel connected to them. All I saw were human beings. And
Mm.
so we just developed this culture of really pouring into them, loving on them, serving them, going above and beyond. And then we kept hearing that, like, this is unheard of. Nobody's ever been this nice to us as an American company. And so over time, we begin to realize that this entire industry is kind of used and abused, all these
Yes.
different people groups across the world, because you can just pay them super cheap labor. And guess what? If they don't do the work that you wanted, don't pay them. What are they going to do about it? And it just became this really ugly cycle. And so 2 years ago, when we stopped doing our marketing company and felt called to start the staffing agency, we just wanted to be different. And as we've grown, man, we looked up and we're like, we have an entire team of people in the Philippines that are helping run our company. Like, they sit in important seats. They don't just sit in assistant seats like, hey, go watch my email while I do the important things. No,
Mhm.
they're making decisions. They're creating strategy, right? They're building SOPs. They're developing KPIs. And so we had just looked up and thought, man, virtual assistant's just such an undesirable name.
Mm.
It doesn't come with dignity and honor. It doesn't put you in a position of talent. It really just says, oh, you're probably good enough to be my virtual assistant. And so when we came up with remote team member, it was based around, we believe we have the ability to help companies scale because of these men and women.
Yeah.
Not just using them to support you, but to actually come into the places where you were weak. And so now, I mean, we're placing U.S. paralegals, we're placing architects, we're placing engineers, like, we're placing unbelievable people that could have unbelievable jobs in America. They just don't get those opportunities in the Philippines.
Mm.
And so it's become more missional for us, getting to go over there every year and love and serve our people in person. And so our hope and what we're fighting for is that we want to change the way this industry is served, and the way people see it. That, like, stop buying into the bull crap that, like, don't you just need an assistant? No. Don't you need a director of ops? Don't you need somebody to take on your entire marketing department for your company because that's not where you thrive, so that you can go stay in the lane that you're really great at? And dude, it's awesome. It's been awesome. And I
That
can't wait
is
to see where it goes.
That's so fun, man. I love it. I'm gonna leave it here, Kyle. I want you to tell us where we can find you and how we can find Higher Culture. Is it Higher Culture teams or Higher Culture? What the name of we want to know where we can find you.
Yes.
And I also, when we first started working together years ago, you gave me a little book, and I know you still probably give it to people now. It's a little black book. The author is Austin Kleon. Is that the name
Yes,
of the guy?
sir. Yep.
Steal like an artist. And
That's right.
if we were to look at you and to hear from you, whether it's from this conversation or really just some of the stuff that you bring onto the earth, what would you hope that we would steal from you?
Oh gosh, hopefully nothing. I feel like he could probably do everything better than me already. Um, yeah, I think what's worth stealing from me is just almost stupid faith. Just the true ability to go, God said it, let's go. It doesn't look optimistic, like the numbers aren't pointing in the right direction, but I believe in this thing called favor, and what I also believe is that favor ain't fair. And so I believe obedience leads to it. And so let's go chase after it. I think that's what I do better than the average person. Nothing else other than that, probably. But you can find us at highercultureteams.com. You can find me online, Coach Kyle Draper, everywhere. And if you're listening or watching and I can serve you in any way or pray for you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Kyle Draper, thanks for bringing the thunder today. And listen, leaders, if you can lead better, you can live better. And you heard it here from Kyle, right? We need to rethink everything about how we work with other people, especially these remote ones. Kyle, thanks for starting a movement, and thank you for sharing from the heart to people that matter.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, brother.